Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Baschamania podcast. This is episode 201, and I am pumped to have my guy David Carr back on the podcast today. Before we dive into today's conversation, this show is brought to you by our friends at Attack, A-T-A-C, Attack. Champions aren't born, they're made. And Attack is ready to help you get to your goals. Attack is where video game stats meet real-life training. You can download the app, work on your strength, endurance, mentality, agility, flexibility. This is a training app that helps you level up in all those areas. And as you go, as you train, as you improve, they give you a score, a video game-like score, where you have different scores for strength, a score for endurance, for mentality, agility, flexibility, all these different things. DJ Hamady of Wisconsin just posted his rating the other day. His rating's at 90, 88 in strength, 90 in endurance, 74 mentality, 99 agility, 99 flexibility. Super cool to see where different athletes stack up and where you stack up against some of the best wrestlers in the world, from Trent Hidley and Jordan Burroughs to some of the best youth wrestlers in the country. Download the Attack app, ATAC, Attack. It's in the Apple App Store and Google Play Store. Follow them on social. They're atac.app. Thank you to Attack for sponsoring the show. We are back with the 2022-2023 Gary Thompson, Iowa State Male Athlete of the Year, the 2022-2023 Iowa State Wrestling Team MVP, David Carr. How are you?
Doing great. Awesome to be back on the show. Love listening to your podcast. Love listening to the great guests that you have on. And it's always an honor and a pleasure to be on as a guest.
It's so funny because sometimes we've gotten close over the years and I'm always nervous between I was looking when you were on 2019, you were on in June, 2020. Something like that. And then maybe it was 2020. You were on in June, then April, now July. So it's always around spring, early summer that you hop on. And it's fun because we get a mix of talking about last season, a mix of talking about the upcoming season. And it's nice because I never want to be a distraction to my guys and be like, hey, you wrestled Keegan O'Toole this weekend. Let's hop on the podcast, or the Monday after, So it's fun to do some of these episodes in the off season. And two, it's when you guys are locked in, it's such a difference of having you on in the off season. It's awkward because right now, I was just talking about it with Bo Bartlett on the last episode, last season seems so in the rearview mirror, and next season feels so far away. But Again, you were just on last April or something. And it's dang, you and Aaron Brooks were just on talking about NCAA's. Yeah. So time flies. First of all, what have you been up to these last couple of months?
So this summer, I chose to just focus on training and enjoy spending time with the team. We have a great team at Iowa State, getting to wrestle with some new guys, some of the incoming freshmen. So yeah, that's been good. So the few months I've been just training, traveling, doing a few camps, and being able to do FCA, which is Fellowship of Christian Athletes. I do a few FCA camps where I'm wrestling, I'm sharing my testimony, things like that. So yeah, kind of a busy summer. It's not been too crazy, but mainly just in the weight room a lot, in the weight room a ton, and just getting stronger for next season, wrestling with the guys a lot just to get ready for next season. And yeah, blessed, can't complain. I've had a great summer so far.
And if you want to watch that testimony, we just put it on your landing page website. Go to Carrchamp, CARRchamp.com, click about, and you can watch a testimonial video that Maryland FCA just put up, which was awesome. Glad we got that on the website. I'm curious your perspective on, the off season. It's funny. As a fan, I disconnect a little bit. It's nice to have that break. This next year is going to be intense. As a fan, as somebody covering the sport, when we go from a college season into the Olympic year, and you go right into the trials, it's going to be crazy. For you, I know a lot of the wrestlers, we see the content. You're still in the room, but you're also disconnected a little bit. You didn't go to the Open. You're kind of scaling back for the summer a little bit, what is that process like where like mentally you have to be 100% locked in during the season? What's it like in the off season in the summer for you?
The off season is just a great time to like slow down. Like you don't have time to, you're not like getting ready for anything. So I can really slow down and dissect some different technical areas I need to improve on. I can slow down and enjoy time with my family, socially, my faith. I can always sit back and get grounded with my faith. So the off season is definitely a nice time. I'm still training, I'm still lifting, but you're definitely like being able to kind of recharge. If someone has an injury, they're kind of making sure their body's good, getting healthy again. Some people use it in the off season for different reasons, but for me, it was just a kind of reconnect, kind of relax, enjoy training with my team, enjoy traveling a little bit, and just to be fresh. Senior year is my last year, so I want to be as fresh as possible. I want to be like hungry to wrestle, ready to wrestle, which I am. And so I'm able to do that just because of the summer. I've been able to travel a little bit, train a little bit, and also just kind of disconnect from a little bit of social media, and as well as like kind of re-entering back into, getting promoting things, NIL, all those things you kind of have to start getting ready for as the school year approaches.
Yeah, and it's fun to watch because it's like, I won't see anything, and then all of a sudden I'll see something, and it's like you in the weight room, and it goes from like you in Costa Rica on a missions trip, and then all of a sudden it's like a short little video of you working out, and it's like, oh yeah, he's getting ready. He's not completely disconnected. So it's fun to watch. Going back, let's talk last season a little bit. So I think the storyline for you of last year, it's always interesting when you won an NCAA championship early on in your college career. Now you've had a first, third, and second place finish. And I feel like for you, and maybe I'm biased, you kind of have it harder than anybody this past year, in my opinion, because 165 was a gauntlet. And I think I looked at Flo's like upcoming rankings with people who graduate and everything, and it's like Keegan O'Toole pound for pound 2 and you 3. So I had said, and a lot of people on the show, 165, winner of that, give them the Hodge if they're undefeated. Like that was such an intense battle at 65 this past year. And I think it speaks to your character of how you approach these battles with Keegan. And, you seem to take that iron sharpens iron mentality. You don't take it. I don't want to say you don't take it personal, because I'm sure anybody takes a loss personal to a degree, what you do in the wrestling room, how you focus on it. But publicly, I think you handle it as great as you can. When you look back this past year on that, what'd you and Keegan wrestle like 3 times, I think?
Yeah.
Which made me nervous, by the way, because I said it to Chenzo, and I'm like, when you beat somebody 2 times in a row, who has the advantage going into the third match? It always makes me nervous. Going back, looking this past year for you, specifically your battles with Keegan O'Toole, how do you kind of reflect on that this past year?
Yeah. One of the reasons why I went up to 165 is that I saw just a unique challenge for myself to get better at wrestling. And my goal is really the mastery of the sport. It's good to win championships. It's good to go for those things. But I figure if I focus on the mastery of the sport, getting better at wrestling, getting better at wrestling moves, getting people off balance, those type of areas, focusing on that, I know that would ultimately help me get to my goal and the goals that I set for myself. So going 65, and wrestling O'Toole, that kind of just helped me get better at wrestling. So I appreciate the different challenges. Like I said, it's iron sharpens iron, because, you got another national champ at the weight. Those things are going to make you better. It's going to make you sharper. You're going to get back in the room. You're going to always continue to grow. And it pushes me. It drives me. I think that any good wrestler knows that a loss or anything like that, it fuels the fire, and it makes you very, very, very focused. It makes you very focused. So those challenges, all the matches that we had were very good, and it definitely helped me get better a lot as a wrestler and also grow as a person.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where it's like, on one hand, it stinks to lose to Keegan in NCAA finals, but I'm a storyline guy, so I'm always thinking about stories and how things play out. And it is pretty cool. You're a 4-time Big 12 champion, and you pin Keegan O'Toole in the finals. I don't care if there's only 22 seconds left in the match. You pinned the dude, and it was like, to say you're a 4-time anything with a talking success accolades is cool. After that weekend, did you have much time to really reflect on that? Or was it like Monday morning, we got Tulsa in 2 weeks, we're going to go again?
Yeah, I mean, after that match, I kind of went back and just worked on some little areas, and it's kind of just geared up for the last tournament. I kind of geared up. I knew that for nationals, it's a tough tournament. Like you said, the weight is loaded. So I wasn't really even focused on O'Toole or anything like that. I was just focused on just one match at a time, continuing to get better at wrestling, how can I make some quick adjustments? It's a quick turnaround, and we're going right back to Tulsa. And that was it. Just making some quick adjustments. What are some things I can focus on and taking it one match at a time? And yeah.
It's crazy because you guys wrestled 3 times in a month. You wrestle at the Iowa State-Missouri duel on February 15th. Then you wrestle March 4th at Big 12s. And then you wrestle like March 20th or 21st, whatever it is, at NCAAs. That's kind of crazy. And for you, one thing that I'm sure I already know the answer to is how your faith helps you manage those highs and lows. Because you talk about a month like that, where you're not only wrestling a guy like Keegan, you're wrestling guys like Peyton Hall, who are hammers and they're awesome wrestlers. So like you said, you can't even just focus. This isn't I make the comparison with UFC and stuff where, this year was kind of interesting for Final X, where people had 6 weeks to prepare for somebody in most cases. UFC is like that. You have months to prepare for somebody individually. Unless you're Bo Nickel, your opponent pulls out the last minute, you get a new guy last minute, go and knock him out in 30 seconds. But you can't just focus on one guy because you don't know who you're going to get in the semis. You don't know who you're going to get. So there's a lot of just having to stay the course. And I know from our conversations, both on here and off air, how much your faith helps you stay consistently kind of grounded through that. What was that month like, kind of trying to stay consistent?
I would say, like you're saying, like my faith is such a huge part of who I am. And I think I focus on that just as much as I focus on getting better at wrestling. I try to focus on my faith, and knowing that my identity is in Christ, it kind of just frees me up to be creative and be a good wrestler. I think sometimes wrestlers freeze up and you don't get to see like their best self, even if they win. Sometimes they're like, man, I could have did more. I feel like I had some more skills I could develop and or hit out there. And for me, during that last part of the season, I really just leaned on my faith and knew that everything happens for a reason. And so I'm not going to question God's plan for my life. I'm just going to trust it. And so that part of the season sometimes gets stressful for some people. For me, I felt it was very freeing, and just knowing that I'm just going to trust in the Lord, and I'm just going to wrestle and have fun. This is a sport I started doing because it was fun, and I want to continue to have fun with it and continue to get better at it. And so that was even the focus towards the end, of just continue to get better, continue to have fun with it, and continue to trust in God's plan.
It's funny too you mentioned that, because I almost got involved in a friendly back and forth between Tony Ramos and Shane Sparks yesterday. Love both those guys. They were talking about you get what you earn. And Tony Ramos had said it's one of the most overrated, overused quotes in wrestling. And Shane's like, yeah, but you get what you earn still. And I agree to a degree, but I also greatly disagree, because what you earn and what God's plan is for you are two totally different things. You might put in the work and quote unquote get what you earn, but God might have something totally different for you might be using something. He might be using an NCAA final loss for a much bigger purpose in 7 years from now or next season. Maybe God lets you lose so that next year you have a fire under you for the Hodge. You don't know. Like there could be so many different things. And it's like, so to a degree, yes, get what you earn. But at the same degree, you also can't have your identity totally in that, because if you start looking at yourself like, well, I didn't get that, so I didn't earn it, so I'm a failure. And I'm not saying Tony and Shane are saying that. I'm just saying you got to be careful as a young kid with getting your identity. Like I commented, I don't like jumping in between things on Twitter, but another thing I commented on this week was somebody saying that kids should be obsessed with wrestling if you want to be at the top, and they shouldn't do any other sports. And I couldn't disagree more. And I had kind of quote tweeted that right away with, listen, Jordan Burroughs never won Fargo. Nobody who won Fargo or even wrestled at Fargo has won more world and Olympic titles for him. So it's not always one path. It could be the next great wrestler is a track runner, is a football player, whatever. So I try not to get too. Go ahead. I
think those are great points, and how you're talking about. It said something earlier. It made me think about Jordan Burroughs made this post about how losing makes you relatable.
Yep, great post.
Great quote. The whole thing is great. If you haven't read it, it was super cool. He's kind of talking about his son Beacon, and like for me, I feel like God might use like that loss to speak to so many people, or to make me, or be able to help me be a good coach. Like I know Metcalf has lost in the national finals before, and so when he tells me he gets it and that he's going to do everything he can to help me get to the top step of the podium, and he knows how I feel, I know that's true. I know he's felt that pain, and I also know that he's a great coach, and he's going to help me get to the level I need to get to. And so I think there's just certain things that you learn that you can't learn when you win. And there's certain things you learn when you win, certain things when you learn when you lose. And I feel like there's valuable lessons, and I feel like God uses it in a spectacular way. If you don't think that God can use a loss in such a beautiful way, then you just don't know. I mean, you just don't really know the scriptures as well. There's so many difficulties in the scriptures of people who go through trials and tribulations, and God uses it beautifully. And that's why I kind of trust that God's going to use it in a beautiful way.
It's so much more peaceful to go through a trial of tribulation too, when you know that, like I remember when my wife and I had a miscarriage, we had said like right after, like it sucked, no way around that. But I remember us talking about how like this sucks, but it's comforting knowing God's going to use this. He's going to use this to minister to somebody else who maybe can't have a kid or who just dealt with loss. So it does help you deal with loss, defeat, failure, all those things when you know there's a bigger plan, there's a bigger purpose than just an NCAA title, a Fargo title, whatever it might be. So yeah, it was a fun season for you. Do you have a favorite match this year? It's never what I would suspect, so I love asking the question.
Let's see. I feel like whenever I do camps, kids always ask me that. A lot of people always ask me favorite match. I honestly would say that the Big 12 final with O'Toole was probably my favorite match of the year, just because either that one or the first one, just because like there's a lot of hype around the match, a lot of people talking about it, and I thought that was cool. I thought that was cool that a lot of people tuned in and talked about it. And so when I got to wrestle him, and that match was just kind of a back and forth battle. And so was able to get to a scramble and to get to a cradle, to get the pin, to get the win. So I say that was probably my highlight, my favorite match of the year. It's just that Big 12 final, and to get outstanding wrestler there. I thought that was cool.
If you had to look back, is there somebody that maybe surprised you? Like you're like, dang, they're good. Like you had a couple of close matches. Facundo, you beat 4-2. Peyton Hall, you beat 3-1. Keegan, obviously, you had a couple matches with. Was there anybody that Wyatt Sheets, you beat 5-3? Was there anybody that you wrestled that you were like, dang, they really brought it? Obviously, everybody brought it, but is there anybody that sticks out in mind that like you walked off the mat thinking, dang, they brought it to me?
No, I can't think of any. Like, I feel like close matches, it was interesting, but I wouldn't say I was like surprised.
Yeah.
It's more of like just an effort of like, oh, maybe I can do a little bit more. And I will like one thing I do like about like the 3-point takedown is that if they do takedowns as weighted as it would be, it wouldn't be like those matches really wouldn't be close because I didn't really give up like takedowns or any scores like that. It was more of like they just get escapes. And to me, I'm like, all right, well, I can wrestle on my feet all day. So I wasn't like surprised or like, man, this guy really like I kind of know from just watching different opponents like what they're gonna bring. And I wouldn't say I was like surprised. I was just more like, okay, I can get on my offense a little bit more or do more. But I do think that being at a tough weight, I do think that everyone has different unique challenges that they bring. But that's the fun part. It's kind of like a game. You just kind of figure out how you're going to navigate through your different levels of offense and defense.
Yeah, and next year is going to be a blast for you. Your senior year, 6th year. Do you feel like the old guy yet? Like, are you starting to feel?
I feel old. I hate it. I feel like the old guy because I'm like I feel like I've been in college forever. I don't know, 6 years. I honestly wish it was just 5 years without the COVID, but because of COVID, 6 year. But I do feel like the old guy in the room, but not like old, but like I feel like I've been here for a while. So
Well, and it has to feel funny when, like, I was thinking about it and thinking, like, Marcus Coleman goes and gets a coaching job. He leaves Iowa State, and it's like you start having teammates that you've been around for a while, and it's like, dang, he's gone. And now, like, you start. I feel like incoming doesn't make as big of a difference as people who leave because you're not used to, like, a newcomer, great, whatever. But when somebody you're used to is gone, I feel like that's when it starts to make somebody feel old because it's like,
yeah,
oh, dang, they're gone. I'm still here.
people would leave. I'm just like, bro, like who am I? So Ian Parker, he
Yep.
left and he's actually coaching at he's coaching at Virginia.
Yep.
And like I love being around him, great Christian guy, someone I looked up to. Coleman, someone that I trained with and have been here ever since I've been here, he's been here. And so he's coaching for Davidson with my brother. And so those guys that I just really cherish those guys. It sucks when they leave because I'm like, man, and I still got another year with some of these young guys and some of these stallions, but it's cool. Like there's some cool things about staying around as far as like seeing how much the culture has changed, seeing how much the team has changed. One of my goals coming to Iowa State was not only like individually be well, but to see the team prosper and see the team do well. And so I think it's slowly every year we've gotten better. Last year we took 11th at the national, so every year we've gotten better. I think when I got here we started off like I don't even know 45th or something like that. So it's cool to see how much Iowa State's changed over the years, and I'm hoping that it continues to get better this next season.
Well, one of my topics for next year was expectations for the team. You're one of the top guys in the country, in the top 3 pound for pound guys in the country, and being a leader, there's a lot of, hey guys, let's go and do this. And there's like, when you're setting the standard and there's guys around you like, oh, this is possible. Like David's been in the finals 2 out of 3 years. He's been in NCAAs. That says a lot. What are your expectations for the team? And how do you kind of plan on, let's say your expectation is to be on the podium. How do you foresee trying to help getting the team to that place? Because obviously, whether you're first, second, or third doesn't make a difference from the team getting on the podium. That's a team effort. That's not a one guy, hey, listen, I'm going to go win a natty and we'll get a team title too. Like, that's a team thing.
Yeah.
What's your kind of expectation and perspective heading into that?
One thing I will say that I love about Iowa State and I love about the coaching staff, Kevin Dresser, Coach Dresser does such a great job of I've just built a good relationship with him, and he just has a lot of trust in me. And like when we're working together and working on technique or talking about stuff, I love that he does a good job as a coach. He's asking like, hey, what do you think the guys will like? Is this a good thing to focus on? And like usually sometimes coaches will just be like, all right, this is what we're gonna do, blah, blah. Where dresser would be like, hey, what do you think? What do you think about this? Do you think the guys will like going? And it's like small stuff, but I love that he does that. And he just really like does a good job of just building us together, of building a culture of discipline, toughness. And because of that, I think you're going to keep seeing Iowa State do well. And I think this next year, because of the way he's able to lead the team, and St. John, Metcalf, Fernando, my dad, they all just add that great culture of like, hey, if you work hard, you can get here. But you have to be disciplined. You have to be consistent. And when I look at the guys we have now, guys like Garrett Grice, he's here. He's a transfer from Virginia. Really, he's a really tough kid, uber talented. We have a transfer from Clarion Feldkamp, who's an All-American at 184, who's very tough. Chittum, Cody Chittum, he's a new guy. He came from the school on the other side.
That was my next topic.
He came on the school from the other side. So like I said, these guys that are here, they want to win, and they're here to win, and they're serious. And we don't know what the lineup's going to look like right now, but right from what I've seen from the summer, there are so many guys I could talk about that are so good. And that's why I think, our goal is to win the Big 12. Our goal is to get a trophy at the Nationals. Will that happen? I don't know. I pray that, we're just all healthy and that we can continue to go towards those goals and see what happens. But that's like, I would say like, those are the things that I want to happen. I don't know if they will, but I do know that we do have some stallions. We do have some studs, and they have a great culture here right now.
It's crazy too, because I think most people, if there were betting odds, the favorite would be that you're in, at a minimum, the Big 12 finals and the NCAA finals. That would be the favorite for you, at least to make the finals. And what happens there, we would see what the betting favorite or betting lines would be. But it's almost like your performance is almost expected. So if somebody's thinking about how Iowa State gets a team title, it's almost not like, well, David has to win. You put David in the finals, and then it's like, can this kid All-American? What could Panero do? What could these guys do? How will Chittum perform as, getting his career started? There's a lot of question marks. And for you, it's got to be more incentive. You're obviously always incentivized to help your teammates, but when you know that, like, if you're a guy who might not All-American, you say, man, I want a team title. I know if I go out and All-American, that's going to help the team. You're kind of already there. And now you got to build up the guys around you. Speaking of a guy like Cody Chittum, flips from Iowa, the other side, to Iowa State. What was your reaction? Because I feel like he's a guy that he's a hammer. He's a good dude. He's now a great training partner. He's at 57, so he's right below you. You got a great training partner. What was your reaction to him coming to Iowa State?
Yeah, I mean, I was obviously happy. I think what I really like about him, he's a hard worker and just loves to learn and loves to get better at wrestling. So as a training partner, love it. As a human being, the dude's goofy and very likable. He bonds well and meshes well with our team. Everyone wants to see him do well. I'm really excited that I also like storylines. So as far as Cyclone-Hawkeye duel, I think it's a cool storyline just to see what happens. We don't know what's going to happen, but I think it's cool. It just brings more hype to the duel. I think I want the Iowa State and Iowa duel to be a big deal. And I want it to be a lot of fun. I want people to tune in. And so I think that creates a little bit of a storyline. I think that's kind of fun, the way things shake out. But yeah, I think Chittum, he's really talented. I enjoy working with him. I'm going to actually be working with him a lot this year just because we're close in weight. And I like his style. So yeah.
Let's talk about that duel, and hopefully we get a couple sound bites that in 9 months or whenever it is, we can clip these, share them out, get some hype going. But it is interesting. WrestleStat has Iowa winning in their duel prediction 16-15. One of the interesting things is 57. because it's Jared Franick for Iowa versus Cody Chittum for Iowa State. Which, if you were thinking last year, like if you were looking forward to the duel next year, nobody had Chittum and Franick as the two there. Now, Chittum, you might have been able to say, okay, but Chittum now Iowa State, Franick for Iowa, 16-15. WrestleStat has it in Iowa's favor. They have you getting an 8-4 decision over Patrick Kennedy. Now, this year, the duels, I believe it's at Iowa State, right?
Yeah, it's Iowa State.
So you're smiling when you say that already. So this isn't the first time the thought has come into your mind.
I would say I would say for sure, I feel like just it being in Ames, just it being at Iowa State, I feel like, we're going to bring it when we're at home. That's just, I feel our best version of ourselves, we're going to bring it. And it's the Iowa duel, so we're already going to be locked in. But I really think it's going to come down to matches like those, like the 57s. It's going to come down to, we'll have to see what happens. There's a lot of question marks on the weights. But
yeah, that's why that 16-15 too is like, it's very, up in the air depending on who wrestles what weight. And
who wrestles what weight, who they throw out there. You never know until the week of, someone could get hurt and then you don't even know, like they might not wrestle. So, but I think it's going to be a close duel. I think it's going to come down to some of the newer guys, like some of the new guys that come in. If they win a match, that's going to be huge. And we'll have to see what happens. I'm definitely excited. That's definitely a duel that it's at Iowa State. I love that it's at Iowa State, being that it's my last year. And like I said, Cyhawk is always super exciting just because of the rivalry, everything that goes into it. It's going to be a fun duel.
It's going to be an awesome duel. It's one of those things that as you look towards the season, especially given the storylines of the transfers this year, it's so crazy to see when you start. I forgot who I tweeted out. Maybe it was I remember it was Shane Griffith versus somebody else. I'm like, who would have thought this duel was between Michigan and whoever? I can't remember who it was, but yeah, it's crazy. One thing you didn't mention that I want to bring up, I had Dresser on the podcast because I loved how he handled the Southern Scuffle. And I think I texted you right after, like, I got to have him on because I love his communication and I love his style. And I want to put a spotlight on guys like that, where right before the scuffle, he came out and he said, this guy's not wrestling, his foot's hurt. This guy's not wrestling, he tweaked his shoulder. David's not wrestling, veteran rest. This guy's not wrestling. So on one hand, I love the communication. I was just talking to somebody. This is not a shot at Jaden Cox, but I was just talking to somebody yesterday about, I'm like, it's crazy that we're 40 days removed from Final X. Jaden had to pull out at the last minute, and we still have heard nothing from him, his camp, his club, like nothing. And part of it's because that's just wrestling. And Jaden's not a big social media guy. You can see he's got a sponsorship deal with, I forgot the company, Vitamin Company or something. So like he posts every now and then, but it's like there's such a lack of communication. And if you're somebody like Jaden and you're just not on social media that much, I don't think it's at the forefront of your mind. Let me go on and tell people I'm not wrestling or why I couldn't wrestle Final X. But from a high level, especially understanding marketing, the PR side, you always hate when you don't have that communication. And it's always missed opportunity because the bigger our stars get, the bigger of a audience they have to market wrestling to. So the bigger Jaden gets an audience, the more people who maybe they're MMA fans, maybe they're American sports fans, whatever they are, the bigger your audience gets, the more of an opportunity you can shine a light on wrestling. So I don't fault Jaden, but we were talking about it yesterday, a friend and I, and I'm like, it's crazy that this is just the norm in wrestling. So going back to the Southern Scuffle, I love that Dresser just came out and said, Carr's not wrestling, veteran rest, because, and I had put out a graphic like some people did. It's like, we could see Carr and O'Toole first of 4 times this year. And it's like, obviously the fans want it. The fans want you and O'Toole to go 17 times in a year. It's crazy. But from a communication standpoint, one, I love what Dresser was doing with the communication. Two, what I'm curious for you is I don't think a lot of wrestling fans get that when somebody doesn't wrestle, a dual meet, a tournament, or whatever. I explained this on the podcast during the winter, but from my perspective, talking to some of these coaches, you have a lineup of redshirt freshmen, sixth-year seniors, and everything in between. So if you have a schedule, that schedule for a redshirt freshman and that schedule for a sixth-year veteran look very different on who's actually going to compete. And yes, for, NFL, for these other sports, you don't really see it unless it's like preseason or the week before playoffs. But number one, this is college athletics, not NFL. But number two, what is a great schedule for David Carr in his 6th year might not be the same exact schedule that's best for Cody Chittum's development or for the team as a whole. For you, what's that like where you're talking with your coaches about, hey, I'm not going to wrestle the scuffle, or hey, we're going to rest you during the scuffle? Like, what's that kind of behind the scenes curtain look like, or pulling back the curtain? What's that behind the scenes conversation look like where maybe you don't rest, or maybe you don't wrestle in the tournament because you're kind of resting up for the rest of the season?
Yeah. So last year, I would say that I think we had planned on sending a bunch of guys to go at the beginning of the year. And then as the year had played out, we wrestled at some cool tournaments. Like we wrestled at the collegiate duels, and we had Penn State, Cornell, Oregon State. We had a lot of good matches going in. And at the beginning of the season, we had Wisconsin. We had a lot of great duels. And I think so Dresser just kind of, like I said, I have complete faith and trust in our staff. And Dresser kind of he's like, hey, I'm going to give you the option of what you want to do here. This is my input. This is what I think you should do. And then you can take it however you will. You're older. I'm going to give you the courtesy of picking what you think you need. Now, someone younger like Panero and some of these other guys, he might just be like, hey, dude, you're going, you're not going.
Right.
You're going, you're not going. I can still tell you I think you should go. Hey, I think this is why you should go. What do you think? You're still going to go, but you can tell me what you think. This is why, hey, you're a little banged up right now. I know you love wrestling. You do not need to go to this tournament. Like, you need to rest your leg. Your leg's messed up. Let me get you healed up first. Let's get you ready to go. And so that's kind of like Dresser kind of operates of just like, we're talking about it. What do you think we should do? Things like that. And we just thought it'd be a smart decision to rest, continue to work on skills, continue to get better, and be fresh for the end of the year. So, this season might be different. We might go, we might not. We don't know how it's going to shake out, but that's kind of how that conversation went. He just was like, hey, these are 2 options. This is what I think you should do. What do you think? I'll give you a few days to think about it. Whatever that's kind of how that kind of went about. And he's super honest. Like, Dresser's an honest coach. He'll tell people, like, if they ask, he'll just be like, yeah, this guy's, he's a little banged up. We're kind of letting him heal up, or, hey, we need to do this here at this weight, so we're going to see what happens.
Yeah, and that's why, for those listening, if you haven't listened to the Kevin Dresser episode, go back and listen to it. It was a great episode. Had a lot of fun with him. But it is funny that, like, so many times fans assume if somebody can't wrestle and the matchup happens to be, like, if you go out there and you're wrestling a bum and you don't wrestle for whatever reason, nobody thinks twice. Oh, you're wrestling, you're sick, or whatever. If it's a big matchup, it's, oh, he's ducking him. Oh, he doesn't want to wrestle him. And, I have people that like to break my chops if, like, a Penn State kid doesn't wrestle in a random weekend. But it's only if they're wrestling somebody good. If they're not wrestling, if Brooks sits out against a guy who's 0-12, I don't get a text. If Brooks sits out against a big school, it's obvious, they look at it differently. but you have to look at it holistically from the athlete standpoint, where it's like, listen, it's not always just a duck. Yes, there is ducking, 100%. There's no doubt there are some wrestlers who want to minimize damage control, or they think like, I'll see them in NCAAs. I don't need to wrestle them now. For you, you're obviously, nobody can say nothing because, again, you wrestled Keegan 3 times in a month. For you, what's your perspective on wrestling a guy like Keegan so often? Do you just approach it like you want to get better, so the more times you wrestle him, the better you're going to get?
I would say just, it's a wrestling. Like, it's just, for me, it's just a sport. We're just going out there, we're battling, getting better. I wrestled, I don't think I missed a single duel last year. I think I wrestled like a full season. I didn't miss a duel. The only tournament I missed that was on our schedule, where we didn't really send as many starters, was the scuffle, but everything else I did a whole season. So I would say that, the more times the better. I think it just gets you better at wrestling, gets you sharper. So and it's kind of like depends on what the coach is saying. I think, whatever the coaches, like I said, I'm very coachable. I believe what the coaches are kind of telling me, what Metcalf, St. John, Fernando, Coach Stresser, I kind of just lean on them. They've been through the fire. They've wrestled for national championships. They've wrestled on awesome teams. They know what to do. They know the blueprint. And I think just going in there and wrestling, and if you wrestle a guy a few times, I think that's just, you wrestle a guy a few times. But, unless things change, unless the coaches tell me otherwise, I think that's kind of how things kind of go. I think that's just organic.
Do you have plans yet? I know it's still early in the summer, but I know they start somewhat soon. Do you have plans yet to potentially compete at the All-Star Classic?
I don't know. I talked to some people about it a little bit, but I don't know if I am or if I'm not yet. So,
okay. That was a great having you there last year. Oh, for you, your season, I was telling Yanni not too long ago that, like, both him and you, the way you guys started off last season, like, you had Dean Hamady right out of the gate on to the actual college season. He had Austin Gomez, and you throw in the All-Star Classic, those other stuff. There's so much excitement right away. I'm curious for you. The NIL dust has settled a little bit. I feel like there's more hype right now around the transfer portal than there actually is NIL. And yes, they go hand in hand. Yes, there's kids being offered an insane amount of money to go to a school, but actual NIL, being able to work with brands. You had some posts with Casey's, for example, Gummy Bear post. How has NIL been for you as far as, I look at guys like you, Bo Bartlett, guys that are like leveraging NIL, how it's implied to be. How has it been for you these past couple of years?
It's been awesome. I love being able to work with different brands. One of my, like Spartan, being able to be able to customize my own gear, seeing kids wear the gear, gummy bears, sweatshirt, shirts, like to see that, it just brings me a lot of joy. Working with different brands, like I worked with Quarters, where I get it's an apartment complex. I did like a deal with them. I've done some different deals that have just been really fun and been really awesome. Like, I'm really blessed and fortunate to be able to work with some of these places. I think the coolest thing is not even like my platform, but the coolest compliment I think that I love to get if I'm working with a company is just like, they just like how my character is and my faith and how I handle myself, rather than, dude, you have all these followers. So they'll be like, obviously they'll see the followers, but then they'll be like, hey, we like how you handle yourself. We really want you to represent this so-and-so. And so that's more of like, that's one of the favorite things I kind of like when I'm working with different NIL things, is that like they like how I handle myself, and they want me to represent them. So I think that's an honor. Like, you're representing a brand. You want to be a good representation.
Yeah, and it's being authentic is what they love, and they want to see that you're actually representing them in an authentic way. If somebody were to present you with a lifestyle brand that you don't jive with whatsoever, it's like somebody who doesn't drink anything getting a beer brand ambassadorship. Not necessarily college kids, obviously, but like even athletes in their early 20s on the senior level. If you were to get a brand sponsorship that doesn't align with your brand at all, nobody wins. Their customers look at you like this is odd. Your fans look at you like this is odd. It's so great to be authentic. Speaking of NIL, though, I did see, maybe we'll spark the rumor mill a little bit. I did see Gable was there a couple days ago in Iowa State. I mean, he's chirping fans about, is he going back to Minnesota for another year? Is he going to go to Iowa for another year? There's rumors of insane amounts of money that he's being offered. What does David Carr know about Gable Steveson's potential return?
I'll text you about it later. I'm not saying that on the air. I'll say that. I will say that. Yeah, I'll text you about it later. I will say that it was a pleasure to see Gable. We were practicing at Minnesota. We did like a little practice there. And the Minnesota staff, great people. Got to wrestle with different guys on their team. Got to wrestle around with Gable. So that was fun. Yeah, it was a great time to catch up with Gable and what's going on in his life. He was telling me all the different opportunities, all the different things that he's working towards. And yeah, I mean, Gable's a class act, just such an awesome guy.
He's a smart dude. He's
very
young
smart.
And he doesn't get the credit because he doesn't. And he, if you know, but like, if you can see what he's doing methodically, there's a lot more there than just good Instagram photos. He's a smart dude.
He's very smart. And I think he's very intelligent. He thinks about every move. He's very, I don't know. It was awesome talking and catching up with him because the way he thinks about things and the way he has a bright future with business, with people. He just does a great job. Even after the practice, he was going around shaking people's hands, saying, hey, thanks. Just so many cool things I got to witness when I was there working out with them and seeing them. So that was cool. I hope nothing but the best for Gable Steveson, and I'm a fan. I love watching him wrestle and dominate. So,
fun fact: we have a website for him that has not gone live yet that I would like to put live. I actually literally just DM'd him. I was going to try to see if he could hop on this show, but it was so last minute. Switching gears a little bit. It's Fargo week. We had mentioned earlier about, different opinions and perspectives on wrestlers being obsessed, on wrestlers training, and getting what you earn, all sorts of stuff. One thing I want to give you a place to maybe give some input. There's a lot of kids probably listening to this, families listening to this. I get a lot of DMs from people that they appreciate this show. And they say, as they're driving home from a practice, from a tournament, the whole family listens to the podcast. It's a little not embarrassing, but it's I don't like to hear myself talk. So to think of my voice playing through a car of 4, 5, 6 people is just a funny, awkward thing I can't get used to. But there are probably people driving home, traveling home from Fargo, a lot of hearts broken. Fargo's biggest wrestling tournament in the country, if not in the world. And so obviously there can only be so many champions. There's a lot of people going back to the drawing board. There's probably a lot of people, sadly, in all sports, there's a lot of people who just kind of lose their self in the identity of performance. What is your perspective? What is your advice for kids who are listening, who just maybe got out of Fargo, or they're wrestling in maybe a different summer tournament? They're not quite where they want to be, and they're listening to this because they know you're a junior world champion, you're an NCAA champion. And like we were talking about earlier, losing is also relatable. You've lost, you had a earlier loss a couple of years ago, you had a loss in the NCAA finals. So you've been on both sides of it. What would your advice be to younger wrestlers right now who maybe had a recent setback and they're not quite where they want to be?
I would say, don't personalize your failure. Just because you lost, just because you failed doesn't mean you're a failure. Just look at it objectively. Hey, my arm was out. I got hit with 10 duck unders. That doesn't mean you sucked. It just means you got to bring your elbows in. So yeah. I would say some kids go to Fargo and they're like, oh, I'm no good. I didn't place at Fargo. Well, I mean, dude, I can list a freaking thousands of people who probably didn't place at Fargo who are All-Americans. Not 1,000, but I could list a lot of people. Even our coach, Coach Drescher, did not place at Fargo, national champ, 2-time All-American. Like, there's guys, if you don't place, doesn't mean you're not going to be a great wrestler. In fact, I think that adversity just builds character, endurance, and it's going to help you in the long run. If you had a great weekend at Fargo, run with it. You know, you did some things right. Go back and look at what you did well and continue to build and continue to get better. We had a guy, Tate Noctemorn, dude's a beast. He won Fargo. Happy for him. And he's going to continue to build. Great kid. I believe he has great faith as well. So I would just say, yeah, if you're doing well, keep it up. If you didn't get what you wanted and you're All-American or you didn't place, just use those things as learning opportunities. Look back at the matches. What can you do better? Like I said, focus on the mastery of the sport. How can I get better at the sport? Think about, hey, was it something that I was thinking? Maybe I didn't have the right mindset. And then look into, okay, I had the right mindset, or maybe I didn't. Maybe I was too nervous. Then look at the match. Did I take bad shots? Was my arms up? Things like that. And I think you're going to see a lot of good things.
Good advice. Switching gears a little bit again, random, complete out of left field, but your Instagram is always funny because when you've got an audience of like 150, 120,000 people, and it's always funny to see like either celebrities or well-known figures pop in there, both in photos. You got photos with Steph Curry. I remember seeing Lolo Jones comment on one of your posts, like, have a good season. Like, such a wide variety. Is there anybody that's either commented or engaged with you that you couldn't believe, like, wow, so-and-so is engaging in this because of my success?
I would say the first one that was crazy for me, I think there's maybe 1 or 2 or 3, but I remember at the Iowa duel, the first time I wrestled, won my big match against Kib Young. He was ranked really high. I won. The next post, John Jones commented and was like, dude, good job, keep it up. And John Jones is like, GOAT, UFC champion, all these things. Yeah. And I thought that was crazy. I've talked over the DMs with different UFC fighters that I'm like big fans of, like Usman. I told him I always wanted to come train with him sometime. So maybe that will happen in the future. I talked to him over DMs. Being able to meet Steph Curry was really cool. Just being able to like talk to him and his wife and things like that. But I definitely think that John Jones won. I don't know why. I thought that was pretty crazy. And I think that my sisters run track, so they're big track fans. So the Lolo Jones thing, they were like, I was like freaking out because I've watched her run and I thought that was really cool. And so things like that, I think those things are crazy because I'm just a wrestler. So like
isn't it crazy?
Like, crazy.
Yeah, isn't it crazy too? Like how all of a sudden, once you talk to somebody, how like I've never gotten starstruck. I've met a lot of people from Jay-Z to athletes to whoever, and it's very cool. But after a while, after you like meet somebody, you almost are like, yeah, that's cool, but like they're just another person. Like Kevin Jonas follows me, and we engage every now and then about like technology because he's a big tech dude. And I remember somebody was a huge Jonas Brothers fan. My sister-in-law, or somebody, like, could not believe that he was following me. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Like, we were talking one day about technology.
I'll say that one of the cool things, I don't know all of the people that were on it, but that a post that it was like a reel. I was talking about just my faith in the post. Is like I had the 100% Jesus headband on is NCAA. Yep. And that the interaction from that video was super cool for me because I saw like all these believers that were football players, NFL, different actors on Netflix and stuff were commenting. And I thought that was cool just because that was really cool to see that people had interacted with that and really resonated with what I said and like loved that. So that was cool. And I love that. It reached a lot of people. So I thought that was cool too.
Yeah, I did see you just hit 1 million likes on TikTok, which is crazy.
Thank you.
That's a lot of likes. That's a lot of likes. Have you found a good balance of not caring too much about content, but also creating a good amount of content and having fun building a brand? You know, like NIL, we've talked about, like, it gives you more opportunities. You can't get lost in that, but it does set you up for more brand opportunities. And the more a brand can see of you, Bo and I were talking about it. I can't remember if it was on the podcast or when I was with him at Final X. Like, it's like the more content you put out, the more brands can see, oh, this dude uses our toothpaste. Oh, this dude loves our hummus. Oh,
Right.
this dude uses our bike. This girl loves our skincare. Whatever it might be, like, the more content you put out, the more opportunity you give. Like, you have an NIL deal, or you did with Casey's, and you guys were dealing with gummy bears. Where do you think that came out? Content. Casey's
Yeah.
didn't randomly ask you, like, hey, what's your favorite candy? So it's
Right.
like it's fun to be authentic, and as an athlete in your shoes, to be able to, I say it's fun. It's fun because I'm a brand marketing guy, but it's a great opportunity to put out content that you have these opportunities to showcase who you are.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of fun. It's definitely I like Bo was saying, is you got to be able to balance it, and you have to have a kind of like, you have to like care but not care too much. Like you just have to
Yeah.
like, because when you're putting out a lot, you can't be like nitpicky and things. You just have to have a good heart about what you're trying to put out and have a good message or enjoy it, have fun with it, and then you can't care too much about it. And I try to like put out more than I try to like perceive. Like looking at too much media or doing that,
100%. 100%.
either I'm scrolling and looking. So I try to do that more because I think that's just, I just try to spend my time with different things, but I definitely try to put some content out, and it's been fun. Like I have a lot of fun just putting out different things and enjoying it, like making sure I'm having fun with it and not putting to a point where it's a distraction where I'm thinking about it too much. I'm just like, all right, I'm gonna do this. I think this will be fun. We'll put that out.
Is speaking of NIL, the Spartan gear, the gummy bear stuff, I almost put it on this morning, actually. Is that all still available right now? Can people go buy it?
Yeah. So the gummy bear sweatshirt, and we're gonna come up with some different designs and different things. So the Spartan, all that stuff is available. I have a link on my page on Instagram. I would love to support. I think that'd be awesome. Also, Yanni's shoe is super dope. There's a bunch of colorways. Go check that out on the Spartan website. But yeah, those things are available. It'll be awesome for you guys to support. And if you're listening to this and you have any questions or anything like that, would love for you to message me, and I'd love to try to answer those questions. And also another thing is, I love playing Fortnite, and like there's all these little wrestlers and different kids from all over, and I love interacting with the younger generation playing Fortnite and playing games. So if you're into that too, you can also message me. I like to do that just to interact with different young studs.
I'm gonna have to get another gummy bear shirt, I think, because what I've been doing this past year is the apparel I love, I end up getting more than one because, like, apparel just isn't well made, like, design wise. Like, it
Mm,
fades quick. So,
yeah.
like, my first gummy bear shirt, I wore it 100 times. Obviously, it's fading a bit. So the other one, I have one, the Spartan one, that I've just never wore, because what I
Uh,
want to do is I want to put up a bunch of shadow boxes in the office, and I want to put, like, Roman did a shirt a couple years ago. It wasn't like it was before NIL. He
right.
just, like, had some shirts. And
Mm,
so I have one of those, the Yanni Squirrel, have some nuts shirt, your gummy bear shirt, a Jordan Burroughs shirt, some Jacob Casper shirts. There's some shirts that I love that I don't want to wear because I want them, like, I want to make something cool in my office.
I,
So
I
I'm gonna
still
have to get another one.
I still gotta send you. I'm telling you, one of these things I want to be able to send you something cool to put up in your office. So
Yes,
once
please.
I win something cool, get a bracket or get, because we get the Big 12 bracket, NCAA bracket. So anything like that, I want to be able to send it so you can put it in your
Listen,
office.
I'm gonna put it right here because I have this shelf, but it's obviously the way my desk is set up. Like it's not
Right.
it's hard to see in the shot. So it's up there. Those are WWE guys that have been on the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Kurt
You
Angle,
should.
Jerry Briscoe.
You need to have Bo Nichols send you like some signed UFC gloves and just put them up there.
Yeah, actually, the Yanni and Roman shirt are there. The Carr gummy bears in a stack of like shirts I'm about to wear, but every time I wear, I'm like, I can't wear this one because it's not worn yet. So I got to get another one that I can wear. Yeah, I want to get. I need.
I wear this. I like to work on it, but I don't like working on it too much because I don't want it to get like messed up. Because I like wearing it just like if I'm going to a camp or if I'm doing like I like wearing it for interviews or different things. But I've worked on it a few times and then I was like, I don't want to work on it because I don't want it to be it's a nice shirt. I don't want to like mess it up. Because that's shirts that I kind of got mad where I worked out in them. I love them, and then they're all
I know. Once you like sweat in a shirt, it's just never the same. One of my favorite Baschmania posts in the past year, I think, was the photo of I think it was the Cyhawk duel.
Yeah, Cyhawk.
You did the press conference in the Baschmania tee. That was like one of the coolest. One of my favorite posts of the last year. And we had some cool content.
Throw it on there for another time for interviews because we always do those. I always think it's fun to like promote, and I'm a big fan of the podcast, and I love promoting. And you guys do a great job. You do a great job.
So. I appreciate that, man. I'm excited for you for this next year. I'm excited. I'm also like I'm at that point to where my relationships make things stressful because like 3 of the people I care about most got to be you, Chenzo, and Burrows. And you guys are all going to be at 74 next year at the Olympic trials, and I'm going to be hiding in a suite. Like, it's like when girls sometimes get those shirts that's like "Go Football" or something like that, like "Go Team." Like those are the things that make me nervous. But have you started kind of preparing for like? This isn't just your senior year. This is your senior year rolling right into the Olympic trials like 3 weeks later.
Yeah, I mean, it's on my mind. I mean, that's something that I'm training for, something that's on my mind for sure. And like, that's why I said, that's why it's so important for me to focus on the mastery of the sport, focus on just getting better, just continue to get better every practice. And yeah, that's definitely on my mind.
You got to be thankful too that you are at naturally in college an Olympic weight, because some of these in-betweeners, I'm like, some of these guys at like 70 kilos, 61 kilos, I got to go up or down. It's like, oof, at least like, I think 165 pounds is like 74.8 kilos. Like it's right there. That's got to at least make you feel good.
That's one of the reasons why I moved up a weight, is just to just so I could be better fitted for 74 kilograms. And it's one of the reasons why I'm lifting a lot and getting stronger and continue to build my strength, is because of the Olympic year and because of the 74 kilograms. So those are definitely some bonuses of being 165.
Is there any shot you think you'd go down to 70 kilos after the Olympic year? Or do you think once you build up, you're going to stay up?
What's 70 kilos? What's the weight for? Is it like 143?
Let me look. How many pounds is 70 kilos?
I think it's 43.
154.3.
154?
70 kilos is 154 pounds.
I'm not going to say there's not a shot.
I love it. It's always funny. Joey McKinnon just had a great tournament up at 70 kilos. And he's, I look at him as like a true 65 guy. And he came up and he got a silver up at 70 kilos at the 4th ranking series. So he looked good.
I definitely say that weight's not casted out. It's not like...
You think after being up at 65, you'd make 54 somewhat joyfully?
No, not joyfully. No. Yeah. I'm not going to be smiling eating gummy bears while I'm getting down to 70 kilograms, but I would say, I mean, I don't even know if I'll do that. I'm just saying I would
Yeah.
possibility.
Yeah. Hey, you never know. It's
No,
people also, Roman's going to be wrestling for Mexico, and he's going to be dropping down to 57 for the Olympics. And I don't think if you asked him a while ago if he would even consider that drop down to 57, because that's
57?
what's that?
He's going 57 for it. Yeah, he's crazy.
Which is 125 pounds.
I know he's crazy.
That's, that's
I'm gonna have to ask him about that. That's actually that drop is actually that'd be interesting. I hope he feels good. Like hope it's a good weight cut because I know 25. That's gonna be a cut and a half. It's
yeah.
gonna be.
I got to get him on the podcast.
You
But
need to
yeah,
get him on. You need to get him on. You need to
we
message him.
we were gonna do an episode last week because we announced that he's I love Roman. He let me announce that he's gonna wrestle for the Mexican World Team. So he's like, yo, everybody's about to run with it. You gotta put it out first. I'm like, all right, let's go. So we put it out, and he competes like this weekend, I want to say.
Is it this weekend?
Or no, what is it? July 29th, next
Yeah.
weekend. Next weekend he competes.
Whenever, either before or after he competes, you got to get him on. You got to get him on the pod.
You know what was cool about that? I don't know if you saw it. So I announced that he's back in action July 29th and that he's going to be competing for Mexico. And, I think he's competing now for 61, but he's going to be going down 57. And Dayton Fix commented, "Let's train," and tagged him. I'm like, that's awesome. Yeah.
That's sweet. I didn't know that. That is very cool. I think that's awesome.
He, within like an hour, like he was one of the first people to comment on it. I mean, it makes sense. You're going to be competing for different world teams. Why not train together? I love the humility in Dayton. Like, I love that. Like, yo, this guy beat me. Let's train together. You know what I mean? Not to have that ego or anything that could very well, like, if I'm Dayton, I could have that ego or pride. Like, yo, this dude beat me. I want nothing to do with him. He's like, yo, let's train, and tagged him.
I love Roman, and I would say that I am a big Fix fan too. The way he carries himself and the way he wrestles, I like Dayton Fix. He's a good guy. I'm close with his family, and close with Dion, his little brother. Their whole family is awesome. Love their whole family. Great faith, great people. Dayton is awesome. I'm not even that surprised. I wouldn't say I'm even that surprised that he did that because he's just.
Yeah, Fix is a good dude. I've gotten to know Roman pretty well. He's been a client friend of mine for a while now, and he's one of the best dudes. When you get to know him and his heart and the things he wants to do to silently give back and try to help others and, not put the spotlight on him, like, he is such a good dude. And because he's more shy and a bit more introverted, it's not out there as much. But yeah, Roman's such a good dude. Dayton's a good dude. Listen, the content alone of them two training would be great.
No,
not just them two getting better, but the content of they just wrestled in the NCAA championships last year, not like this year, but like 2022. Like, that's great content. And of course, getting better. A lot of stuff to be excited for. All right, David, before I let you go, final words. What's coming up for you? What can people look forward to?
Just look forward to my last season. I'll definitely be trying to put out some good content, some good things. Keep an eye out for some gear drops and some things like that for Spartan and some things like that. Definitely excited for this last season, just to have fun, smell the roses, and enjoy just competing hard. And then after that, I'll be doing some senior level, just focusing on the senior level after that. So, yeah, really blessed, thankful for the opportunity, and grateful for everything I have, and excited to continue to wrestle and have fun.
I'm excited to watch you be the old dude.
Yeah.
Like, watching you now be the guy that's like, it's crazy to me that, like, I remember when guys like you and Roman were literally like freshmen, are they going to start? Or not they're going to start, but like, are they going to redshirt? Are they going to this, that? Like, I remember that conversation, you guys coming to college. And now that you guys, like, Roman's done, you're on your senior year. It's crazy how time flies. Crazy.
It is.
All right, guys, follow David. He's at Carr Champ, Carr Champ. He's also, if you want more David Carr, which is a very obvious desire, go back. He's like 3 or 4 episodes he's been on before. He's been on every year for the last 4 years. And they're all fun episodes and they don't overlap. We try to cover different stuff every year. So let's not wait another year though this time. Like, let's maybe do like spring, fall, summer, winter. Like, we got to get to at least 2 a year. This once a year is too much time passing.
For sure.
All right, David, we will speak soon. Thanks everybody for listening. Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen: Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Rokfin. Comment, let us know how you like this episode, and we'll be back soon.
And the beat goes on.